All right, guys, we're back from break, and now we're gonna discuss some of our cards. Going to go into our golden good and gimmick segment that we do each and every week, and I got about 6 cards here. I think we're gonna discuss. Have you guys again kind of classify these cards as golden, which is good, which is something that's going to be around for a long time. Good, something kind of in the middle, and maybe good in the future, but definitely not a bad card. And then gimmick, something that's just bad or maybe faddish, something that's probably going to die out in the meta sometime soon. All right, first card we're going to talk about is Refreshment Vendor, which is a card that we saw this past weekend. I think Nias was playing it in the handlock, and I know some people were talking a lot about Refreshment Vendor when it first came out too. Reynad, what do you think of this card?
It was like my number 3 card in the set.
Yeah, I
It
remember
looked
that.
it looked so good to me when I saw it, and the reality is every deck ended up having this like really strong linear plan. And if you're aggressive, you're gonna want like Shredder. If you're Warlock, you're gonna want Void Caller, Drake, Mountain Giant. If you're like Priest, you're gonna want Holy Champion. There's just like all these better 4 drops for all these decks. And if you're Warrior, you have like way too many playable cards, so there's no room for a 4 drop. So it's just I don't know. Unfortunately, the other like 4 drops made him not as playable as a body as I expected. And the decks that just really want a healing effect, they'd rather have Heal Bot, because if you only need your card to heal, that's going to be better. But this card is still so strong. Like I, this would see play in almost any meta. If there was like one set missing, it would be so good.
Yeah, just again for the folks that are just listening to audio, make sure I want to describe the body. It's a 4-drop, 3/5 body, and this is Refreshment Vendor. Battle Cry, restore 4 health to each hero. Monk, thoughts on this?
We saw it, like you mentioned, we saw Nias play it in Handlock over the weekend, and I think like it hasn't really caught on, and I don't think it'll catch on because it's similar to Siphon Soul in Handlock, where Life Coach actually mentioned that you actually want to kill minions as Handlock, and you want to restore health, but you don't necessarily want to do both at the same time. Like if you just play it as a 4-drop in like a control matchup, you restore your own health and you just like deactivate your Molten Giants. So it kind of goes against the plan, right?
Yeah.
So it might be one of those cards that like if Handlock had fewer cards, you would play it, or just any other deck, like Reynad mentioned. But because we have like so many other good cards, it just doesn't see that kind of play. Like if this was in the very first set of Hearthstone and someone was playing Handlock, I could definitely see this card being added to it.
Okay, so probably 2 goods, I would say, from both of you guys.
Yeah.
And okay, Jab, what do you think of this card?
Yeah, I don't really see a fit for it in current decks. Like even control decks these days, like want to be somewhat aggressive. Like you just play a mountain giant on 4 and hit their face. Like you do care somewhat about your opponent's life total, even if you're a really slow deck. I think the only deck it's like decent in right now is Handlock, and even then, I'm not sure Nice's list was even the best.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like, again, probably it sounds more like a gimmick from you, Jab. Would you say gimmick or good there?
Let's say good.
Okay, good. All right, so solid good for Refreshment Vendor. Next card we're going to take a look at, Seal of Champion. This is a Paladin deck, or Paladin card. 3 mana drop, give a minion +3 attack and Divine Shield. So we see this with a lot of aggro Pallies, but what do you generally think about this card, Monk?
I think people were expecting this to be played over like Blessing of Kings on 4, but it turns out just Blessing of Kings is more damage. And before, like Paladin was really clogged at the 4 spot, but it feels like these days you have like Aldor, you have Muster for Battle, and you have like your variety of secrets at the 3 slot, and you might not have like the like just the space for this, and you'd rather just play Blessing of Kings. Like people in Aggro Paladin, they're cutting True Silver, they're cutting Consecration, and instead Blessing of Kings has just been so good.
Okay. Jab?
Yeah, I think it's just worse than Blessing of Kings the majority of the time. Like you're gonna use it on a low drop, which probably has pretty low health. Like it's not hard to deal with a minion that has this on it.
Probably one-time shot type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Ray?
Yeah, it's not great with mini bot, which is usually like half of your 2 drops, right? Because he already has the shield, and it's not great with juggler because juggler dies every time, and so it's really only like haunted creeper that you can buff with this. So it's just really unlikely that it's a good on curve play. I think that's really what's holding it back. But yeah, it's not the worst card. I feel like there's probably some metagame where this kind of effect would be pretty strong eventually.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
It kind of reminds me a bit of Coghammer, not only in its effect, but also that it's like a card that it's almost good, where it's almost an auto include. So I think like in some format like Challenge Stone, it would definitely see a lot of play.
Yeah.
Alright, fair enough. Okay, so somewhere in the good gimmick range, probably closer to good.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is a Warlock card. This is one of the new Warlock legendaries, or the new Warlock legendary. Wilfred Fizzlebang, 6 mana drop, 4/4 body. Cards you draw from your hero power cost 0 mana. Jab.
So when I first saw this card, I thought of like combo decks, like with Leroy Faceless and stuff,
Oh,
rather than
okay.
like trying to get value from it.
Oh wow.
But yeah, the stat line's just really low. Like you don't really want to be paying 8 to reduce one card. You can just like play Emperor and reduce, like have a similar effect.
Okay. Ray.
Yeah, it's a cool card. One of the first decks I built with TGT was actually with this guy, and it was like, fencing coach, Wilfred, Coda Rider, Warlock.
Right.
It wasn't great. I don't know. Fizzlebang is, yeah, it just needs more stats, I think. 4 health, just too easy to kill. If it was a 4/5 even, that would help a lot, but it's just a little bit too weak, and other options like Emperor are just legitimately broken cards. So, yeah.
All right, Monk.
I think when this card was first released, everyone was thinking, hey, maybe we should like play this in handlock. But the problem with handlock, especially these days, is with the demon variety, like you don't even cut your sludge belchers. So the game plan is like you just play something really strong every single turn past turn 4. And with Fizzlebang, there's like a very big possibility that you just don't get that. Like you play it on 6 and it's really weak. It's not really a 6 drop. You play it on 8, and if you don't get like something great from your hero power on 8, it's also just like not a very good card. And you like lose a lot of tempo there.
All right. I think that falls in the same kind of bucket. A lot of these cards falling in the same kind of good gimmick bucket here, somewhere in between there. Next up is a Shaman card, Charged Hammer, 4 mana, 2 damage, 4 durability, Death Rattle. Your hero power becomes deal 2 damage. So kind of interesting card that, it's anything that changed your hero power, I think is pretty cool. Ray, why don't you start this one?
Charged Hammer is a really hard card to evaluate. I don't know. You can't like spend your turn 4 to have a 2 damage effect on the board. I feel like that's like the biggest issue. It's unlikely to kill stuff at that stage, and what this card is good at doing is like getting sustained damage over a longer game. But then like the decks that want damage, they'd rather play something like Doomhammer that gets more of it.
Yeah.
Whereas like Charged Hammer, to get full value out of it, it just takes a lot of time. Maybe you can play it in a deck with just a million weapons, and then you can like play it, blow it up with a different weapon the next turn. I don't know. But yeah, even then, like the hero power is not that broken. A 2 damage hero power it's good on like turn 2, but later in the game it's not that good. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's still undervalued, right? I mean, mana-wise, like 2 mana for 2 damage isn't great, right? So,
You'd expect 3 damage from a card. So
Yeah.
I would say Gimmick. It's just like a little bit too slow to get going.
okay, Monk.
It's kind of like Shadow Form, except it's like it costs a little more, I think, and
Yeah.
it gives you like an initial burst of 2 damage. I think it's close to Gimmick, but I'm gonna say good because like with a bunch of other cards, like not just one additional card that's released in a set, but like maybe 3 or 4 additional cards, where like you could actually make an archetype around like Control Shaman, it might work out. And we have seen this card being used in some Control Shaman lists, although obviously those lists aren't that great.
All right, Jab.
I don't really see this card being played ever. Like even in a control shaman, like 2 damage. Like say we're playing a control matchup and we're just trying to outvalue our opponent. Like even then, the 2 damage hero power isn't doing much there. So I don't really see much implication. Like it's just way too slow against aggro, and can't be put to much use in control mirrors. I don't know.
All right, probably three gimmicks there. Too bad. It'd be cool to see that. It'd be cool to see a weapon be a little bit more prominent in Shaman. All right, next up, Warlock card, Fist of Jaraxxus. 4 mana drop. It's a rare card. When you play or discard this, deal 4 damage to a random enemy. Monk, starts off here.
I think it's okay. I'm gonna say good. We saw like players like Just Say and Eloise use this card, although obviously it's not being used these days. It's very useful in, again, this is one of those cards that it might be useful in some kind of like challenge stone event, or it's pretty good in some tavern brawls. Like last week we had the mana curving brawl, and what you could do, I saw some decks, what they tried to do was they tried to play all the cards that discarded cards from your hand, and they just tried to mulligan for the Fist of Jaraxxus. And obviously it wasn't very consistent, but it was a fun idea.
Right. Okay. Jab?
Yeah, this card already sees play. Like, it requires a really aggressive build of Zoo, because at the point that you're playing this card, you're not really fighting for board anymore. You're just going chase. I think it might need a little bit more support though. Like another Doomguard-esque card might push it over the top.
Doomguard, you mean just discarding type of card?
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Discard effects.
Okay. With a charge. That'd be pretty sick. Reynad.
I think this card's golden. I think it's actually broken. Any like 0 mana card with a strong effect will be broken at some point. And right now it's already made the best variant of Zoo. So I think going forward, this card only gets stronger and stronger. And I think it's really good.
All right. So I think we got our first golden good card here of the day. That's great. Master Jouster is the next card. It's a 6 mana drop. Rare card. It's 5/6 body. Battle cry. Reveal a minion in each deck. If yours costs more, gain taunt and divine shield. Jab. What's your thoughts on this?
It's just way too unreliable. Like when it misses, you're just losing the game.
Yeah. Okay, it's kind of comparable to Sunwalker, right? At that same spot, except for the randomness to it.
Yeah, with Sunwalker, at least you know what you're getting. Like,
yeah,
the upside isn't high enough, I guess, for winning the joust on this card.
Okay, Ray.
Yeah, I'd say Gimmick. The other 6 drops are just way too good. It's mostly what it comes down to. Emperor is broken. Solanas is really good. And how many 6s do you really want? So
Right. Okay, so 2 gimmicks. Monk, what do you think?
Yeah, this is one of the cards that I overrated when the TGT first came out. I thought it'd be closer to like, it wouldn't be golden, but maybe like a 4 out of 5. I don't know. Maybe ChanManV, you need to adjust that scale a bit so you can actually like rate somewhere in between.
Numbers. Okay, all right.
Yeah, but it just turns out like Joust is such a unreliable mechanic. Like, I don't even think Tuskar Jouster is that good, to be honest. That's probably like one of the Joust cards that everyone uses, so I'm gonna say Gimmick as well.
Okay, but you're actually saying a blanket statement with like jousting is just generally not good. Like, do you like any jousting cards?
King's Elk is good.
Yeah, I like
King's Elk is good. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it. So this one's definitely a gimmick. So our only golden card today was Fist of Jaraxxus. Good deal. All right, now we're going to move into some deck talk. I think we only have one since we talked about Jab's tempo deck earlier. It's another mage deck. And before we do that, just want to remind you guys we're going to do some Q&A at the end of the show, as like we always do. Post your questions here, and we'll try to get to them. It's always great to have a variety of questions so I can choose from a bunch. Okay, so this Control Mage apparently hit #1 this week, and it's from Mintzu. Wasn't too good about crediting some of the decks last week, so I kind of apologize for that. I'm going to start being a lot better about that. But Mintzu, #1 in EU with this deck, Control Mage. I was trying this out like last night and having a hard time playing this deck, so I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on this and you think it's any good? Like getting to number 1 on Legend in EU.
Why is Unstable Portal in this deck?
Okay, that's all right. First question. Any
I
of you
like
guys?
the other 28 cards.
I'm really skeptical, like if this guy actually hit number 1 with this list because of that hunter list a while ago with the Gormok. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
completely
right.
yeah. Like, is this from a good player or?
Oh no, it's from Hearthstone. It's from I just pulled
okay.
something from Hearthstone. So to your point, I guess maybe it could have been doctored. I don't know, but so you don't think this is a powerful enough deck to get to number 1?
I was kidding. I've seen similar decks do it.
Yeah, like Era played a similar control mage a while back. He did really well with.
Okay, so Unstable Portal. Talk about that, Ray. Like you questioning Unstable Portal.
Yeah, that's a card for like tempo decks, and with a control deck, you're trying to draw like the right answers at the right time. You need all of your cards to do specific things, mostly involving keeping you alive. And that Unstable Portal is just going to be like a dead card so often. I feel like something like Explosive Sheep would be better for this deck,
Okay.
or Blizzard, something like that. But yeah, I mean that's really the only problem with the deck, I would say. The other cards make a lot of sense. So yeah.
Okay. Jab. Yeah, Explosive Sheep and Doom Sayer seem to be quite good in some control builds these days. Monk,
Yeah.
what do you think?
I think this deck is really weak to aggro. Like most of these similar decks, they have
Agreed.
Molten Giants in them to like help with that matchup, and they have Explosive Sheeps, and then it becomes like pretty favorable matchup or somewhat favorable matchup. But if you just like cut all these cards, and basically what you're left with is like all the control cards that help you win control matchups. I mean, it's possible that this guy at a high rank of Legend, he wasn't facing Secret Paladins or like Zoo or something,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, he was facing like all patrons, which I could see this deck doing okay against, or all like control warriors.
Yeah, just draw your Frost Nova Doomsayer every time and you can be aggro.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was pretty much what I was running into, just losing to secrets and aggro decks all day. Okay, let's start. Let's bring some of the viewer decks into play here, and we're going to start this new segment called Tink Your Deck, which is the whole point of it is really you guys send us in some decks, and we help you guys try to improve them. First deck that we have is an Ancestral or Astral Communion deck from Sam Chapman here, and it's obviously a Druid deck. I haven't built one myself, Astral Communion, but have you guys had any experience having some fun building that Astral Communion deck?
I've never tried it, and I don't think I ever will.
How about you, Ray? I know you had to try it one time, right?
Yeah, I played like maybe 4 games with it. I lost to it once on ladder. That was a good time. I was playing Control Warrior, and a guy queued into me with like Wild Growth, double Astral Communion, and like 26 9-drops. Like he was playing Sea Krakens and stuff. Because he knew like that would still beat Control. I was playing Fatigue Warrior. That's what I was doing.
So
Like
wow.
you know, how does that beat that many 9-drops? You don't.
Right.
So he drew an Astral Communion, and I got farmed. But yeah, I'd have to play it, man. It seems inconsistent, right?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, the decks aren't supposed to necessarily be top Legend kind of decks, but anything you can see just right off the top that you would suggest him adding, maybe more top level card, just high level card and just going all in, or maybe something to help transition.
I'm a fan of Nourish because it's good when you don't draw the Communion. It's kind of like a 5-mana Communion.
Yeah.
And then after you Communion, it can draw you into business. So it's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really see what combo is doing in this list either. Doesn't seem like it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing I cut too.
Yeah, I played a lot of Astral Communion Druid in the last Tavern Brawl, and what I found out is like you could like draw into everything perfectly on curve, but what I still found out is that like even though I was playing like a 10-drop or a 9-drop on turn 5, I still wasn't like winning the game because they would just out tempo me. Like I would need to draw the correct 5-drop or the correct like 9 or 10-drop on turn 5, like a taunt or something, and if I didn't, I would just lose the game right there.
maybe more defensive big guys. I think Deathwing is really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That thing would be good. Taunt guys, like, that'd be nice. Yeah, you're basically top decking the rest of the way, right? Like,
Yeah.
the whole
I think
time.
I actually think Sea Kraken would be really good here because it's a card that helps you get back on the board.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Probably-
meanwhile, like Ysera might not be the best because you can't actually play like like anything you get out of it unless it's like Ysera Awakens. Like you can't play like an Emerald Drake that easily
Yeah.
because you'll probably draw into like a really high curving card anyway.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Okay, well, thanks Sam for sending in this deck. Hopefully, some of the suggestions will help you out. Next up, we got Remulov Falric. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. It's a Dragon Warlock, and I know we've all built a bunch of Dragon Warlocks. So, okay, so take a look at this one, guys. Anything jump out at you here? It's a little bit of everything in this one. The normal kind of dragon base where you have Twilight Drakes and Chilmals and
Oh boy.
Yeah.
some Corruptors.
There's some cards that shouldn't be in there for sure.
And then the Nefarians in there. Okay, so let's name some off.
Twisting Nether.
Yeah. Don't really see the synergy with Demon Wrath either.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird. That could just be another Hellfire Shadow Flame or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Volcanic Drake is pretty weak. That's really only going to be good with, like, if all of your... Like, okay, when you play Implosion, they're going to kill your imps most of the time. They're not going to let you trade into stuff.
Mhm.
So when you do trade into stuff, you're, like, pretty ahead anyway, and that's the only scenario where Volcanic Drake would come down. But maybe that Implosion synergy is enough. I don't know. I'm skeptical.
There's synergy with that in Twisting Nether, Hellfire, and Demon Wrath, but it
True.
seems a little inconsistent. And also like synergy with Chilmal, I guess.
Yeah, I
Okay.
wasn't a big fan of Blood Mage either in any of my Warlock decks. Like the synergy that it had with Implosion, Coil, Dark Bomb, it wasn't really worth like putting that card in my deck ever.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend taking that out and just play more like defensive cards like Sludge Belcher, and add some late game. Just have a little bit more. Dr. Boom is really good if you have him.
Okay.
Yeah, when I played this deck like a month ago, I won like the control matchups every time. I feel like it just needs a lot of help against aggro. Like Secret Paladin matchup is really rough.
Demon Wrath helps, I guess.
Yeah.
I
Demon Rat's actually quite
guess
good.
that has some merit then.
Yeah.
I think you need at least one owl in there somewhere.
Probably.
There's just like a
And
lot of
just-
science targets.
Big game hunter probably.
Yeah,
as well.
big game
Okay.
hunter.
What about Chromagus, you think? Wait, Chromagus.
He's
it's
fine.
kind of small on my
It's okay.
screen here.
Yeah, it's alright for what he's trying to do.
Yeah, you can play it turn 10 and tap. It's a solid card.
All right, so drop Twisting Nether, Volcanic Drake, and Blood Mage, and then Zombie Child's are good, right?
Yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just add some more defensive cards, some more board clearing cards, or more taunt cards like a Belcher. That'd be good. Siphon Soul good in this?
it's fine.
you
You probably want Big Game Hunter.
Yeah.
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 You either want to add a big game hunter or just replace that with big game hunter.
All right, good deal. All right, thanks for sending that in, Remilov. And our last one we have is from Surf Wonder. It's a Control Shaman. Control Shaman. Okay, this one's interesting. It's got some Molten Giants in it.
Instead of a charged hammer.
It does, right? I mean,
There's some synergy
boy.
between charged hammer, and molten giants.
Oh man, I like this.
there is. what is that?
Riders.
I like Molten Giant.
This is
Okay.
crazy.
So we're gonna be taking 30 damage every game.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. All right. Well, okay. So, given that it's a control shaman, so she's still trying to keep to its theme and not like completely changing, what they're doing here. What are some things to add or take away here? I think Charged Hammer we discussed earlier probably isn't the best thing to have. Two Kodo Riders. Wow.
Yeah, I actually like I like the deck and I like where it's going. Like you mentioned, Chan, like the Coda Riders,
Yeah.
they don't really fit that well.
It almost looks like this reincarnate kind of deck that I play, but it's different, obviously, end game than this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
the Coda
prob-
Riders. Oh, sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say like the Coda Riders, like when you're thinking about other control decks, they don't run Coda Riders, and they have the option to run Coda Riders. So if you're like this control shaman and you're running Coda Riders, it just mean that like there's first of all there's no real synergy between Coda Riders and because you don't have like flame tongues or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you run these Coda Riders, doesn't it mean like you might as well be playing a different control deck?
I think something like Emperor Thorson is just probably going to be higher power level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also kind of like the direction his deck is going. Like, I really like Doomsayer in this list, actually. And I wonder if playing 2 is even better. But you want to make sure that once you slow the game down, you are winning. So right now, there's not much that this deck does against other control decks, actually. So
Yeah.
I wonder if something like Neptulon would be good. Because, Neptulon is really good in control matchups.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like you're just getting outvalued like in a control mirror with this deck. Like half your cards are dead. Like healing waves do nothing. Charging like Death Lords don't do much. I don't know.
I mean, what's the win condition for this deck? That's
Well,
it's like
Coda
put the
Rider.
Molens down and just go to Riders.
That's you basically hit the nail on the head. Coda Riders and Molten Giants.
Yeah.
The Molten Giants are easy to play around for a control deck.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that they would expect it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would play Neptulon basically for sure. And I do think you need just more win conditions.
Okay.
It's not bad though.
Any other win conditions you can think of throwing in there? Like maybe, I don't know, any kind of higher power.
Maybe Azure Drake. He's
Azure
playing like literally every thing you want to spell power.
Yeah, he does. He has lightning bolts and crackles.
Maybe even Blood Mage would be fine. Not great, but it'd be fine. It would give you really good turn 5 lightning storms,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty important in Shaman. So yeah,
All right, Jab. I mean, I've seen you play all kinds of shamans. So, any kind of cool end game you'd add to this?
It's hard to say. Like even like I prefer the Malagos route for the control shaman. Actually, just gives you more ways to win the game.
Mhm.
Not sure if it would fit in this particular list, but I think it's good when you're running so many spells.
With the Mullen Giants, does he need a taunt? Does he need like Defender or anything like that, or Sun Fury?
Defender could be good. Makes your totems actually matter.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the hard things about a shaman deck is that sometimes you want to build it like your hero power doesn't matter, but you have to have some way to use your 0/2s. Because the games you're going to win, you're going to have a lot of them.
Yeah,
So
the hero power feels pretty useless in this list,
Yeah.
unless you get your charge hammer.
So defender is pretty important. Maybe over Deathlord.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, hopefully, again, those suggestions, Surf Wonder, help you out and help you kind of develop the Shaman deck a little bit more. Control Shaman, it'd be nice to see some Control Shaman again. The Malagus one's cool, but it'd be nice to see some more different variety of Shaman.
Yeah.
I love how seeing just the meta snapshot. It's just like tier 4 is the Shaman basement, basically.
At least they're in that tier, man.
What? Okay, I guess there are a lot of decks that aren't even in the snapshot. So,
Yeah.
all right, that's going to wrap up that news segment. Thanks for sending in the decks, guys. And for those of you that want to be part of this segment, definitely send your decks in. I'm going to give priority to the patrons. So any folks obviously that are patrons too, go ahead and message me snapshots of your deck, via like the Patreon site. Everybody else, you can email them to me at chris@chanmanv.tv, and we'll try to pick just different decks that look interesting for us to take a look at. We're gonna go into Q&A now and see what kind of questions we have here. I haven't gotten a chance to look at them quite yet, but I got a chance to look at one or two of them beforehand. Okay, Sean Hawley asks, this question is for everyone. Blizzard has been improving the WCS system over the last few years with StarCraft 2. And now that the second BlizzCon World Championships are coming up next month, what can Blizzard do to revamp the current Hearthstone competitive scene or system to ensure a more balanced and even playing field for the next year's championship series? Who wants to take this?
I think it's really hard to come up with a perfect format that everyone's happy with. Like, no matter what they do, there's going to be people complaining. So I'm not going to be the one to try and figure it out.
Yeah.
That's definitely the safe answer.
Yeah. It's also a lot different between Hearthstone and StarCraft because whenever people gave suggestions for the StarCraft WCS, I think the majority, like there were suggestions that the majority of the community could get on board with, whereas with even the current system of Hearthstone, pretty much with like 50% invites, 50% qualifiers, no one is happy because if the tournament organizers are forced to have non-invited players and then everyone else at the same time is complaining that there's not enough opportunities for non-invited players to get their face on the scene, which both are actually very valid complaints, and everyone is having to compromise in this scenario.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about like the BlizzCon World Championships, I mean, that is like the fair system, right? I mean, it's open. It's completely open to the. There's no invites to the World Championships, right? I mean, there are to the tournaments that give points. I guess that's valid, but the whole ladder system and last chance and that sort of thing. I mean, that's open, right?
Yeah, it felt pretty fair to me, but yeah, the invited players do get a slight edge, which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, for me, just to comment about this, I thought when they first announced like the first season, just having the ladder be relevant was really cool, right? That was like, oh yes, that's like what we've been wanting, and even in StarCraft for like the longest time is just to have the ladder mean something. And so that was step one, and it was great. First season was great. Second, continuing into this season, I felt there weren't many changes, and I think because there weren't many changes, it kind of felt, it just didn't feel new and fresh. So it kind of the storyline kind of just fell off until the recent months. And I think it'd be nice if they restructured things. And I know there are plans. There are some plans for 2016. I'm sure Ray probably knows it, but he can't say anything. But there are some plans to change some things up, and hopefully it involves some changes that keeps the storyline fresh. WCS or StarCraft, and one of the things they do is they have these these cutoffs, right? There's like seasons within the year, and it kind of makes for semi-big events throughout the year leading up to BlizzCon, which is nice. I think that would be kind of cool for Hearthstone to adapt something like that. Other games have like majors, and that sort of thing too. That would be cool too for Hearthstone and any of the Blizzard esports titles. Yeah, I think that'd be great. Fairness wise, I think it's pretty fair already. Yeah, some of the tournaments give points for invites and stuff, but it doesn't seem to make a huge difference. I mean, can you recall anybody getting in because of that type of situation?
Most of the players that got invites got a lot of points from ladder as well, so I don't think it made too much of a difference.
Do you guys like the ladder system, like the current one? Is it still good? Oh, all right, Reynad, there's a no right there.
I mean, points should be given for ladder, but when you're talking about the difference of okay, in order to get good ladder finishes, I don't think anyone's going to disagree that you play 20 hours a day for the last couple days of the month, and it's so streaky that the amount of points given that are the difference between first place and 20th place is absurd.
Yeah, I agree.
So that spread needs to be a lot smaller, and that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about the points only being given after the very last day? Do you think there should be any merit to taking rank 1 first, or even just early in the months and things like that?
No, definitely not first, because then you would have 6-0 being first in every region.
Well, I mean, you'd have a ton of people playing. 6-0 just happens to be famous for that, and he obviously tries to do that every month. But you'd have a lot of people trying.
Other people sleep.
Sleep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
I understand where you're coming from, though,
Yeah.
and I do think it shouldn't just be at the end of every month. It's it depends on when you finish, because you have some players, they're playing all three servers just to try to like maximize their chances of getting that finish, and in that sense, it's actually just pay to win.
Okay, all right, that's true. Okay, that's I can see where you're coming from with that. All right, next question here. We got let's see. There was. Okay, do you guys? So Sparkly Una, do you guys think the OTK style decks are helping or hurting Hearthstone? It seems like Blizzard's stance is that they are against it because they want more interaction with minions, board control, but it seems like players want more variety of decks and will try to find an OTK style deck anyhow.
Yeah, OTK decks are sweet. I don't know. Magic started rotating them out of the most popular format after a while. They had like some combo decks, but basically all of like the OTK type of ones they removed, which actually took a lot of the variety out of competitive play. But you can't really compare the two games, right? Because Magic had a lot more ways to interact. You have counter spells, you have discard, so you could actually interact with those kinds of decks. But yeah, like I think those decks will always exist even after they nerf Patron. There's Raging Morgan combo. Rogue can still do Absurd Burst with oil. Yeah. Then you can do like Faceless Sousy Deckhand Burst, and all of it involves charge minions in some way, pretty much always. But I mean, it's what the mechanic does. And you can still do Leroy combo. So I think that those combo decks will always exist, and they'll just nerf the broken ones. But in this case, they didn't even nerf it because it was broken. They nerfed Warsong because of Warsong, not because of the Patron deck, I think.
Yeah.
From a spectator perspective, I like the idea that there are OTK decks, which is exactly the problem that I see maybe with BlizzCon in the coming weeks. Right now, we pretty much have tempo decks as like the main decks going on, and it's fairly obvious in the early stages of the game, like which deck has a definitive advantage, like in the first 3 or 4 turns. Whereas with OTK decks versus tempo decks, there's always like a tension building up between the two decks, where the tempo deck seems to be like it's winning all the time, or the entire game, and then the OTK deck just comes out of nowhere. And from the spectator perspective, I think that's pretty exciting.
Personally, I don't think Hearthstone needs OTK decks as an archetype.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to remove them, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to happen. Like, there's going to be cards that slip by, like Blizzard doesn't see the synergies between 2 cards, and it just happens. Yeah, there's no way around it, but I think in Hearthstone, it's just really hard to balance.
Well, I think one of the issues with the OTK decks, correct me if I'm wrong, up to date, has been that the OTK decks have just been by far the strongest deck. Like, it's never been like good in a certain matchup or that sort of thing. I mean, I think generally maybe some aggro decks were good against like some earlier OTK decks, but
I don't think Patron's the strongest deck. I think Druid is.
Yeah. My point was I think I feel like some of the OTK decks have just been maybe too strong in the history, but having OTK decks, I like OTK decks. Like, I just wish we could find one that was, just proper, or just not just easily the strongest deck, consensus. And Ray, you're saying that Grim Patron wasn't even the strongest, so.
Yeah, it was good. But yeah, like so many decks are good. But like things like Midrange Hunter or Druid are like probably better. I think that, I don't really know how to put it. Like, I think that OTK decks will always kind of emerge in one way or another, not because of mistakes that Blizzard makes, but just because of the way the metagame self-corrects. You'll have aggro and you'll have control going at it, but then if the control decks start fighting too fair and become things like Dragon Priest, then even the weakest OTK combos destroy those decks. Mm-hmm. So things like Leroy Power Overwhelming, Rogue. So they're going to have good matchups in a natural metagame cycle at some point. So we'll see what that next combo deck is. But I think there will pretty much always be one that exists until they take charge out of the game.
Yeah,
basically.
charge is the big issue, right?
Every card with charge. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, what are your views on OTK with charge-based finishes versus like Malagos finishes? I mean, do you have
I think,
internally different feelings on
They're-
both of them, or
They're
are they
basically
the
the same, right?
Okay, I just wasn't sure
Yeah.
if people, felt like they were different just because.
I think it's
spells.
slightly different since there's more counterplay involved when they're charge minions. Like you can protect yourself with taunts,
True.
right?
Mhm.
Whereas with spells, like there's no such thing as a spell taunt yet.
Both of, I guess, protects you
Yeah.
from once.
Yeah, I mean, you never hear somebody complaining about Malagos deck though. Like
That's
nobody's
because it sucks.
Yeah.
right.
But if it didn't, people would complain.
Yeah.
And to be fair, is Malagos like the only exception to the charge rule for OTK? Is there any non-Malagos, non-charge OTK? I don't think there is.
No, I mean I can't see how it's even possible.
Yeah. I guess there's like Freeze Mage, sort of, but
Yeah, it's 2 turns basically though.
yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, Bolf. You forgot about
Oh
Bolf.
yeah, what am I talking about? That's
Oh.
right.
Natural Predator to Malagos.
It's so bad.
Oh man. All right, I get there's a question here for Jab. Where was that? I just like scrolled.
Oh yeah, Prophet Velen too.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, Nikita. Oh man, all these Russian and European names. Zrevlev. Oh my God. To Jab. Now the patron will be gone. What do you think will happen with Hunter? Which deck will be the strongest one? Do you expect mid-range to die because the meta will become overwhelmingly aggressive? So I think we're talking about Hunter here.
I mean, you just play a faster Hunter deck if the meta is more aggressive. I think Hunter was even like really strong before Patron was nerfed. I had a lot of success with it recently.
The Face Hunter or
Like just mid range.
mid-range Hunter? Okay.
Yeah, Face Hunter was not really bad.
Yeah.
Mid range was in a fine spot already. It maybe even gets better because Patron was probably one of the worst matchups. It's like 40 to 45% for mid range against Patron.
All right. Yeah. So maybe we'll start seeing some more Hunter in at least competitive play. You guys agree? Monk, you agree?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Okay. Let's see.
I mean, mid range isn't so cancerous.
Yeah. Diablo 3. Srige, I guess. Reynad, first, I want to say that you are an excellent commentator. Big up. To the question, will we see you rise up the great player you can be for next Worlds? Or is the focus on other projects like Tempo Storm?
I don't have the
Stream?
time, man. Like, in order to get that last 5% edge on other pros, it's like an extra 10 hours a day. It's just not worth the time. I have so much other stuff I have to do, unfortunately. I'll always be decent. I don't know. And, with crunch time before tournaments, maybe I can get it up to like a 55% win rate or something. But I will always be... As long as my win percentage is at least 50, I'm not gonna go the extra mile because it takes too much time. It's very like diminishing returns to be better.
How involved are you with even just the team kind of discussions for
We
strategy?
talk a
and
lot
stuff?
in Skype, but it's more just like running ideas by each other. There's no like scheduled practice sessions or anything unless there are major tournaments coming up. Like there were, like for ATLC, for example, there were practice sessions. For BlizzCon qualifiers, we had those. But yeah, most of the time for your average like weekend tournament, it's, we play a lot of ladder and we run ideas by each other, but I don't know, there's not much to be involved in regards to practicing.
Yeah. Well, most of the game is just like tech theory rather than playing. Like you can just run the games on ladder.
Okay. Abene Asmarie, we'll take a couple more here. So Monk, I'll kind of direct this one to you. What do you want the next expansion to be like?
It's a very broad question.
Wish list.
I would like a mechanic that doesn't feel as gimmicky as Joust, I guess. And I would actually like some kind of deck to be introduced where it's not just like a simple tempo deck, like something more similar to, dare I say it, like Patrons, right?
Just not
Something
linear.
with
Not
yeah,
linear.
nothing that's like too linear. So you feel like it's just like a boxing match back and forth, and it's more like a chess match.
I'm actually just so sad. This is a little off topic. I'm actually so sad that Patron's gone as like the top deck. Because whatever is next top deck, it's going to have so much less play.
less play. Oh, you mean just
Like less play to it. Yeah, people are
good
gonna
play to
people are
it,
gonna
yeah.
get mad at whatever beats them. They're gonna get sick of losing. It's just like with Patron, at least the bad players you would beat and the good players you would lose to. So it felt
Yeah.
like
True.
I definitely don't want to see just like secret pallies and stuff like that, which is, oh man, requires a lot less ability in my opinion.
Yeah.
Jason Bone asks, what would make Shaman a much more competitive hero in Hearthstone? More card draw, better card quality, or lessening the overload costs on current Shaman cards? If better card quality, what type of card would Shaman need to get to be good?
Yeah, overload is a huge problem. Like the overload cards like Feral aren't even that strong anymore as they used to be. Like Lightning Storm is worse after Nax with all the death rattles.
So a readjustment needed for some of the overload cards?
Yeah, they just need better early game as well. Like give Shaman a card like Mini Bot and it's instantly the best class in the game.
Really? You think so?
Think
Just
so?
one card like a mini bot?
Maybe one or two, yeah. Like they tried with Totem Golem that ended up being mediocre. And Tusker Totemic is pretty bad too.
I still think Totem Golem's good, but yeah, it needs one more.
Yeah, it would have been nice if Totem Golem was. Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know how you adjust that. It's a little clunky right now with the one overload.
I think more of the problem is that Minibot is just disgusting.
Mini bot into muster is like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculously good.
The other problem is that it always seems to be competing with Paladin. They're like very similar decks, and you can see it in how Blizzard designed Justicar Trueheart. They didn't give Shaman 2 totems. They gave Shaman the ability to choose a totem, which is
But
a
you can
lot
have
worse.
two. You can have 2 spell power totems though.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. If you didn't have to choose, then most of the time you get the totem you want anyway. So it's pretty
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's really sad that they didn't just give it double totem. And yeah, the way the hero powers line up is very bad for Shaman. 1/1s destroy O2s. But yeah, like I don't know, the class will be good. It just needs like a couple more good cards. This last expansion was actually a step in the right direction because, yeah, it could have been a lot worse. But we'll see.
For Shaman, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not gonna single-handedly fix the problem, but it helped a little, I think.
Yeah, the recent Shaman cards were like way overhyped though. They ended up just being mediocre.
Well, I guess follow up to this, GP Lessard asks, when TGT was announced and cards revealed, the reviews were mostly negative because the new cards did not compete with the existing ones. Do you think nerfing the auto-include cards like Piloted Shredder when new expansion rolls out would make the game healthier and solve the incoming problem of formats in Hearthstone?
That's one way to do it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
You're a
Just
fan?
add
You
though,
are a
right?
fan of that, Jab?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's ever going to happen though, especially with Piloted Shredder. I know Blizzard really likes Piloted Shredder because it adds a lot more randomness, a lot more like quote unquote fun to not only gameplay but broadcast, where you can see like something cool and amazing happens every single time.
It's just limits design space so much because they don't
Yeah.
really want to make a 4-drop that's better than Shredder. It'll just be.
Well, I mean, you don't have to. I think you could keep Shredder as dropping like something like random like that. It's just, what about 3/3 Shredder? I mean, at least there would be some kind of thought. There's no thought right now. Everybody just adds it.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about Refreshment Vendor earlier, right? And it's like, how is that better than Shredder? There's like no way. So
Yeah, I heard Shredder was actually originally a 3/3, but they buffed it so it would see more play because it's a card that Blizzard they want people to play.
what about 3/4 Shredder? That'd be better or worse?
A little worse.
4-2 maybe.
4/2? Oh wow, okay. Is the health an issue right now? I guess it is an issue for some of the removal. Okay, yeah, I mean, so generally you think nerfing or no? No, I mean Jab obviously thinks yes. Monk, Reynad?
Yeah, I definitely want to see more variety in 4-drops like Guard Destroyer, Water Elemental. I think it's It's almost criminal that they don't get played.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of the many solutions, but they're not going to do that. Blizzard doesn't like changing cards.
Yeah. It's gonna just continually get more powerful. But power creep will be an issue, though. I mean, it's inevitable, like going this direction. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for the Q&A. Thanks for all your questions today. I mean, lots of good ones. Just lots of people just writing in. And it's always great to have you guys part of the show, too. But that's going to be it, guys, for the show. Great episode. I think we had some great discussions today. Lots of fun. Jab, having you for the first time again. It's always a pleasure,
Thanks
man.
for having me on.
Why don't we do some shout-outs, plugs, anything you guys want to do here? Jab, you want to go first?
Shout out to my team Hearthlytics and our sponsor Esports Hero.
All right, Monk.
Well, thanks, ChanManV, Reynad, Jab, for doing a show with me. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Thanks to Tumblestorm and Value Town.
Right?
Yeah, shout out to you guys for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I like seeing the show grow week after week. It's good. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I think I'm gonna shout out to Monk and Jab for coming on, and all our sponsors, of course. I think I'm gonna stream in like an hour or two, but
Okay.
yeah, hopefully you guys tune into that.
All right, awesome. Yeah, just wrap things up. Thanking again you guys, Jab, Monk, and Ray, for doing their show today. Monk, we can't wait to see. Obviously you and BlizzCon kind of get a chance to catch up. And Jab, good luck, obviously, in going into this big opportunity for you. So definitely rooting for you. Do well there. And Ray, of course, every week. It's always a pleasure getting a chance to do this with you and work with you on Value Town. And all of you guys, thanks for watching. And we're going to try to stick to this Wednesday time slot. So you can just expect Value Town to be on these slots. From time to time, we'll have an arena episode that will have to be at night, given that I kind of went crip and bob with that. I think I mentioned that before. But you can expect Value Town to be at this time slot each Wednesday. So put that on your calendars and expect it. Of course, VODs will be available. Again, I want to remind you, there's a Patreon for this, for Value Town, patreon.com/ValueTown. Lots of cool things there, rewards and milestones that we're trying to get to. And of course, BlizzCon's coming up too. I'm going to try to organize an episode there. I'm working on it, so hopefully we can do a Value Town from there. If not, I'd like to at least try to get some kind of meetup or something like that, while people are at BlizzCon. That'd be kind of fun to have like a Value Town centric one. So definitely keep an eye out for plans for that. VODs will be available soon, of course. Audio's, just the same on iTunes. I got a FeedBurner link now too, so use that just so I can at least have an idea of how many people actually listen to the audios. But I'll post that really, really soon. But that's going to be it for Value Town this week, guys. So for Jab, Monk, and Reynad, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week. Later.